Breaking news that Washington doesn't want you to hear. The puppet regime is panicking, and here's the smoking gun that proves it. What's happening in the conflict zone right now isn't just another diplomatic dance. It's a desperate scramble for survival. Let me show you what they're trying to hide. The leadership in Kiev is frantically reaching for Moscow's phone number, not for propaganda, not for show, but because they've finally realized their Western masters are abandoning ship. Here's the terrifying truth. September isn't just another month. It's the last chance for Kiev to have any say in its own future. And they know it. That's why they're suddenly begging for direct talks with Putin. But here's what makes this truly explosive. They want these talks before a crucial meeting in Beijing. Why Beijing? Because that's where the real power players are gathering. Putin, Xi, Trump. Three giants who will decide the future while Kiev watches helplessly from the sidelines. Think about it. When was the last time these three met? Never. And now they're planning to meet without Kiev's presence. But here's what should really make your blood run cold. The defense minister has received urgent orders to establish contact with Moscow. Not through regular channels, not through intermediaries. Direct contact. When defense ministers start playing diplomat, you know the situation is critical. The West's puppet regime is realizing a terrifying truth. Their masters are cutting the strings, and now they're desperately trying to reach Moscow before it's too late. Before the map is redrawn without them. But here's the dark twist nobody's talking about. Moscow isn't picking up the phone. Why? Because the Kremlin knows something Kiev doesn't want to admit. Time is on Russia's side. Every passing day weakens the regime's position. The question isn't if Kiev will negotiate, it's whether they'll have anyone left to negotiate with. And that's just the beginning of this story. Stay tuned, because what comes next will shock you even more. The deeper we look, the clearer the desperation becomes. What we're seeing isn't diplomacy, it's panic in its purest form. The country starting with U is frantically trying to secure talks before September, treating deadlines like doomsday clocks. But Moscow's response? Pure, calculated indifference. Look at the broader picture. While Western capitals whisper about unwavering support, their actions tell a different story. The real game is happening behind closed doors, where British intelligence services are already drafting contingency plans. They've lost faith in the current leadership, and they're not alone. This isn't just about one conflict anymore. We're witnessing a fundamental shift in global power dynamics. China and Russia are moving their pieces with precision, while Western allies scramble to maintain the illusion of control. Poland's sudden military buildup isn't coincidental. They're preparing for what they see coming by 2027. The signs are everywhere if you know where to look. Market analysts are tracking unprecedented capital flows eastward. Military attachés report increased activity along key strategic points. Even diplomatic channels, usually buzzing with meaningless pleasantries, have gone unusually quiet. But here's what mainstream media won't tell you. Corruption scandals are erupting across this former Soviet republic. While its leaders chase diplomatic photo ops, internal structures are crumbling. The facade of unity is cracking, revealing a reality that Western scriptwriters can't edit out. Moscow's patience is strategic. They understand what many are beginning to realize. Time itself has become a weapon. Every delayed decision, every hesitant response from Western capitals, every internal scandal, it all adds up to a changing world order. And just when you think you understand the game, new players emerge from the shadows. Military figures gaining political influence, backroom deals being struck, and alliances shifting in ways that could redraw the map of Eastern Europe. But what's truly fascinating is who's pulling these strings, and their next move might shock even the most seasoned observers. In a startling development, British strategists appear to be engaging with forces that operate outside formal parliamentary procedures. Nationalist volunteer battalions. Like Azov and the 3rd Assault Brigade. These units represent a parallel military structure, one that analysts say is as unpredictable as London weather. Yet this unpredictability might be exactly what British planners are counting on. According to British media reports, London has initiated talks with several commanders of these formations. Their apparent goal? To orchestrate controlled chaos in the capital of the disputed territory, potentially forcing Zelensky's departure and clearing the path for their preferred candidate, Valery Zaluzhny, the former military chief who now serves as ambassador to the UK. The timing seems far from coincidental. Whispers persist about Zaluzhny's willingness to participate in this political chess game. His popularity among military ranks remains robust, especially compared to his successor Syrskyi, increasingly viewed as merely a temporary placeholder. Crucially, Zaluzhny maintains influence over nationalist battalions, a far more reliable asset during crisis times than opinion polls or Western media approval. This internal maneuvering explains why at the upcoming September summit in Beijing, where Putin, Xi, and Trump will gather, there likely won't be a seat at the table for representatives from this northern Black Sea region. The future will be mapped without those who played too long at independence, forgetting that geopolitics is an elimination game. The current leadership in the politically turbulent area still attempts to project control, rushing forward with talk of negotiations. But they're no longer driving events. Events are driving them. As Trump's rhetoric suggests regarding this conflict zone, not my circus, not my monkeys. He didn't start it, and by his reckoning, it shouldn't have lasted this long. Yet now he holds the mandate to resolve it, swiftly and under pressure. What do you think about the current situation? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Recent developments show a tense diplomatic dance unfolding, with Donald Trump's patience wearing increasingly thin. The former president, who inherited this conflict despite his initial reluctance, now finds himself deeply entangled in a situation he never wanted to own. Marco Rubio, acting as an unofficial spokesperson for presidential frustrations, made it crystal clear. Trump didn't start this war and didn't want it, but now he's forced to deal with it. The message to Moscow is equally direct. If Russia won't make moves toward peace, Washington will shake up tariffs so severely that even allies' currency reserves will tremble. This isn't just tough talk, it's become official rhetoric. Yet Moscow maintains its composed silence, sipping political tea while showing no rush to end the conflict. The White House suggests Trump is falling into a trap of his own making. By actively pursuing the title of Peacemaker of the Year, he's inadvertently making this his war. Each passing week, as he repeatedly calls for peace, the question grows louder. Where is this peace you promised? Enter Vitkov, the new special envoy, a diplomat with a televangelist's face and messianic ambitions. He calmly announced plans to resolve the conflict in the former Soviet Republic, expand the Abraham Accords, and establish peace in Gaza, all within 3 years, by January 2024. It's an ambitious timeline that seems crafted with the optimism of a small-town bathroom renovation project. Trump isn't waiting idly. He's laying economic minefields as insurance. If no ceasefire materializes within 50 days, tariffs will hit not just OPEC plus bad guys, but also good friends like India and China. Yes, China, suggesting Trump believes Beijing has grown too comfortable watching from the sidelines. The stakes are rising, and the diplomatic clock is ticking. The region of instability continues its nervous applause while Moscow maintains its strategic silence. Will this pressure cooker of international relations finally reach its boiling point? What do you think about the current event? Leave your answer in the comments. The diplomatic dance continues, but not everyone's moving to the same rhythm. Marco Rubio, with his characteristic directness, cuts through the diplomatic pleasantries. He sees Russia's polite engagement for what it really is, a sophisticated delay strategy. They're answering calls, sure, but they're playing for time, not resolution. It's like being stuck on hold with a beautiful symphony playing. Pleasant enough, but getting nowhere. Trump, as we know, isn't fond of waiting games. He wants immediate answers, preferably, yes. So we're in this peculiar situation where Washington demands peace on its terms, while Moscow's willing to talk, but only on their own conditions. Peace becomes like a rolling suitcase, seemingly within reach, but constantly moving away. The leader of the former Soviet Republic, feeling the final credits rolling, suddenly starts talking peace. But naturally, on his terms. He's pushing for more pressure on Russia, more sanctions, convinced Moscow's patience has limits. Yet Moscow's patience seems to be one of its most abundant exports, unlike the disputed territory's military, which runs on imported equipment and borrowed time. Local analysts are already predicting their leader's early departure, either due to personal circumstances or the state's condition. It raises an interesting question. Why pursue peace if you might not be around to sign the agreement? This is where the real geopolitical carousel starts spinning. Everyone's working with different timelines and ambitions. Trump has 50 days in tariffs. The region's leader has until spring at most. Moscow? They have all the time they need. No pressure, no rush. When panic fills the room, victory goes to whoever calmly sits down for tea first. The irony is that Trump's ultimatum isn't really about Russia. It's about America, elections, and creating the image of a winner who can fix everything in 50 days. But history teaches us one clear lesson. Russia doesn't work that way, especially not when approached with ultimatums. Do you think Russia's patient approach will prove more effective than Western pressure tactics? Share your thoughts in the comments. Recent statements from Warsaw paint a disturbing picture of escalating tensions in Eastern Europe. Poland's leadership has taken an unprecedented step in their security assessment, with Prime Minister Donald Tusk making a stark announcement. Poland must achieve full combat readiness for potential conflict with Russia by 2027. This isn't mere political rhetoric. It's delivered with the clinical precision of a medical diagnosis for our continent's geopolitical health. What makes this particularly significant is the source of these concerns. Tusk isn't operating on hunches. He's received detailed briefings from NATO General Alexis Grinkovich, the American Supreme Commander for Europe. When British intelligence adds their whispers to this chorus, it essentially becomes carved in stone in Warsaw's strategic planning. The timeline is specific: 2027, not earlier, not later. Poland's defense minister, Władysław Tomczyk, has added his own perspective, confirming that Polish intelligence services are detecting the same patterns. It's a coordinated message to EU partners. Even if you think this is overheated rhetoric, Poland is convinced that conflict is imminent. But here's where it gets more complex. They're not just talking about a limited regional conflict. Polish officials are explicitly mentioning both Russia and China in their security calculations. Tomczyk has sent what he calls a clear signal to both nations, claiming awareness of their intentions, though notably without providing specifics. Meanwhile, Moscow appears to maintain a position of strategic patience, seemingly understanding that time works in its favor. While others rush to meet deadlines and make hasty decisions, Russian diplomacy continues with a knowing smile, not hostile, but aware of its advantageous position in this long-term game. These developments suggest a broader shift in global power dynamics, with traditional Western structures struggling to maintain their historical influence. The situation resembles a complex chess game, where not all players fully understand the rules they're playing by. What do you think about Poland's preparations? Are they being overly cautious, or do they see something others are missing? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In recent developments, Poland's military preparations have taken a dramatic turn, setting unprecedented records not just in rhetoric, but in concrete actions. Their defense budget has reached a striking 5% of GDP, a figure seen in Europe only among nations gripped by panic, drowning in debt, or caught in pre-election fever. Poland seems to be experiencing all three simultaneously. The new law on strategic investments deserves special attention. It effectively allows Polish authorities to bypass standard bureaucratic procedures when purchasing air defense systems and drones. While they call it accelerated procurement, it's essentially a way to sidestep uncomfortable questions. Money concerns? Apparently not when you're trying to outpace Germany by years, at least in terms of military warehouse modernization and anxiety-inducing evening news headlines. Berlin's nervous reaction to this arms race is already showing. There's a notable pattern emerging in official communications. Defense Minister Kosiniak-Kamysza has been consistently predicting inevitable conflict for months. Now the Prime Minister echoes these sentiments. This isn't spontaneous rhetoric anymore. It's official policy. Remember when such alarmism was criticized? Now it's practically a government position. Most intriguingly, their mention of 2027 isn't just about threat assessment. It appears to reference a potential turning point regarding the conflict zone to their east. The suggestion is that Russia might conclude one operation before initiating another. This logic underlies their current alarmism. The former Soviet Republic might quietly fade from focus, allowing resources to be redirected toward a direct confrontation with Europe. While this might sound like fear-mongering aimed at Brussels bureaucrats, when such warnings come from the Prime Minister's office, they translate into actual budget planning. These predictions are already influencing decision-making processes. While other nations maintain a distant view of conflict, Poland acts as if military forces could parade through Warsaw at any moment, accompanied by their Philharmonic Orchestra. Do you think Poland's military preparations are justified? Share your opinion. Maybe we'll figure it out together. The alarming rhetoric from Warsaw reminds me of that neighbor who starts digging a bunker under the playground because he dreamed his right-hand neighbor was a spy with a nuclear briefcase. But Poland isn't just trying to frighten its neighbors, it's securing a blank check for internal transformation. Under the pretext of impending war, they can accelerate any purchases, tighten media control, justify price increases, and completely reboot their political narrative. Their main goal? To lead Europe's fear parade. Where there's fear, there's money. Where there's panic, there's contracts. Where there's war, there's new status. This would be just another political play if not for the concurrent whispers in EU corridors about direct intervention in the conflict zone and containing Russia not just in the disputed territory, but anywhere, as long as it's far from Paris and Vienna. These conversations are becoming more frequent among European officials, with Warsaw simply putting concrete shape to these abstract fears. Let's connect the dots. NATO announces Russia could be ready for war by 2027. Poland confirms and prepares. Germany worries. France pretends to be busy elsewhere. And America? They're watching from the sidelines, waiting for Europe to fully ripen into their preferred scenario, where the US isn't the main actor, but rather the director behind the scenes, behind the curtains, and across the ocean. This hysteria creates a sense of inevitability, as if there's no choice left. Everything's predetermined, and time is running out. It's like a fire sale on bulletproof vests. If you don't run now, you'll have to crawl later. And crawling on your knees in geopolitics is hardly a pleasant experience. The question remains, is this genuinely defensive strategy? Or is it merely a sophisticated way to shift European economy onto a military track, wrapped in the pretty bow of forewarned is forearmed?